So up ahead of us is Cat World headquarters, and again, this is where you check in to work with the cats after you do an orientation at the Welcome Center. And we have 20 individual cat runs here at headquarters. You know, when we get in the building, you'll see most of the cats live in big groups, but some of them don't like that. They want to be the only cat. So we'll have them in offices or lobbies, and some of them will live here at headquarters, like that cutie perched up high there. Yeah, and we also have the older kittens here once they graduate from the nursery. And then they can start interacting with volunteers and get ready for adoption. This first building on our right is called the Quincy House. We used to call it the Kitty Hotel. So there's one room in there for cats with incontinence, and we fondly refer to it as the Incontinental Suite. Oh, that's a busy room. And the rest of the building is for cats with FIV. It's a virus that impacts their immune system, but it doesn't always shorten their lifespan, so a lot of those kitties are available for adoption. And the next building up on this little hill is called Casa del Calmar, and that's where the cats with feline leukemia live. Now, it's similar to FIV, it does impact their immune system, but one difference is that it's easily transferable from one cat to another. So if an infected cat is grooming or sharing a water dish with a healthy cat, they can give them the virus. So we're lucky to have a building that we can keep them all together. And a lot of those kitties get homes too, but they have to go to a single cat house or a house where all the cats already have feline leukemia. This next building is our Hope House Cat Clinic. It's a satellite clinic just for the cats. And that's where they all arrive when they first come to the sanctuary. They get spayed and neutered, get their shots and microchipped, and it's also where the TNR program happens. And this great big building on our right, that's our largest cat building. It has 6 runs and often around 110 cats. It's called the Colonel's Barracks. It's named for a cat that came here because he was chasing chickens. He liked chickens just as much as Colonel Sanders, and that's how he got that name. Now, he was mandated to live out his life here with us because he was so good at chasing those chickens. And when he passed away, we decided to honor him with a building named after him. We're going to go into the one across the street. It's a lot different walking a cat than it is a dog. They'll go in circles, make you do all kinds of crazy things. Sometimes they'll go underneath a bush and just pancake, and you're like, you know, I got to get you back in 10 minutes.
They have to go on leashes.
Yeah, they go. Most of them have a harness and a leash. Some of the kitties that really have trouble getting around, we'll put them in a stroller. So you'll see the strollers lined up there in the window. And we just want them to get out and get all the sights and smells too. We've got to keep life interesting for everybody. St. John's House is our biggest losers camp. That's where cats like Miss Millie go to get just a little less fluffy. And as I'd mentioned, we often have special needs kitties in the lobbies, but Benton's house is specifically designated for cats with special needs. So we have cats with neurological issues, mobility problems, maybe diabetes or skin cancer, and there's one kitty that's blind in there right now. And
where did you check in with the cats? Was it the building you were
at the headquarters. Yeah, after you do your orientation in the Welcome Center, go to headquarters. So it's not a bad place to be. Most of our animals are really happy here. I always like to share with people, I'm getting ready to adopt a dog. I've waited for months to bring him home because I'm pretty new here and I've been living in a hotel. So I had to wait till I got into my new house to bring him home. And I think it's harder on me. I take him out for an outing or an overnight and then I gotta bring him back. And I want to cry. But he's running back to his lodge with his tail wagging. He's like, I'm gonna go see my buddies. See you later, Ma. You know, as far as they're concerned, this is home. And then they get the best surprise ever when they get to go into a real home. This building coming up here, this cute little A-frame, that's the TLE, or the learning experience. And we have all kinds of workshops and summer camps and things like that there. Our workshops are on things like dog behavior and also how to start a sanctuary. So if you know anyone thinking about doing that, send them here so we can help them do it right. And as I've mentioned, we have outreach workers all across the United States. We've even started opening adoption centers. So it started out in Mission Hills, California, and expanded to the No Kill LA Center. We also have one in Salt Lake City here in Utah. And both the city of LA and the whole state of Utah are committed and on target to being no-kill by the end of next year. We also just recently opened centers in Atlanta, Georgia, and Soho in New York. So we're trying to get representation in all the big cities, spread the word, pull smaller shelters into our network, and work together so that we can accomplish that goal of having the whole United States no-kill by 2025. We really do think it's possible. We're heading up to what's called Angel Village, and there's a few administrative offices here, but the really cool thing is this is where our cafeteria is. And you'll see a pretty sign over that arched door. That's where you go in to have lunch with us. It's 11:30 to 1 every day, and it's only $5 for an all-you-can-eat vegetarian buffet. We have one of the most spectacular salad bars I've ever seen. I mean, anything you want to put in on a salad is in there. There's also a couple really good hot side dishes, fruit salad often. There's dessert and coffee and tea, so it's a great deal for $5. We often joke with the visitors, the food is free, but the view costs $5 because that patio looks out over the canyon and it's pretty spectacular. You can watch hawks flying while you're eating your lunch. It's awesome. To the left is rabbit headquarters. We have 124 rabbits and 8 guinea pigs right now. And they get inside and outside space too, but they access the outside world through a tunnel instead of a cat door. And you see that wooden fence that wraps most of the way around the building. That's to knock down on visual and sound stimulation, because rabbits can be scared to death. It's an actual thing. So we want to keep them nice and calm. No fainting bunnies here, please. But they have a tour every day at 2 o'clock, and I imagine that's awesome. See lots of rabbits running around. Now this next building is not very interesting to look at. That's our offices for the wildlife rehab. Most of our wild animals are going to be set back away from the road. We don't really want them to interact with people because we hope to release them to the wild again. We get about 300 wild animals every year that come here for injuries, illnesses, or maybe they were abandoned by their mom. So we'll do what we can to help them out and get them going again. We have 113 resident wild animals right now, mostly birds like hawks, owls, and ravens. We do have a few mink and even some desert tortoises with sinus infections. I call them the snortises. The poor babies, we'll fix them up and get them going again. And we just opened this building. It's a brand new building. We expanded our parrot garden. We have 130 parrots right now. Macaws, cockatoos, conures, African greys, all kinds. And we adopted out about 50 last year. Now we really caution people when they're thinking about adopting a parrot. It's a huge commitment because some of them can live 80 years. So it's really tough on the parrot if you adopt them and pass away 30 years from now. They become really bonded with their caregivers, and they may not like the person they have to go live with next. They can get really stressed out. We do have some birds that have come from a situation like that that are plucking out their own feathers. They really do mourn for their caregivers. So we want to avoid that if we can. Now, Wild Friends has a tour at 10:15 every day and Parrot Garden at 11. So if you have time, it's really cool to do those back to back. We also have a large aviary for pigeons and doves. We're one of few facilities in the United States that has a sanctuary just for pigeons. I think we have 110 right now. We also have lots of ducks and geese, chickens, and a few exotic birds like peacocks and a Chinese crested pheasant. If you do adopt a duck or a goose, obviously you got to have a pond or some water feature for them to paddle and swim around. But it's also important to have a place for them to hide. A lot of domestic birds are bred to have really short wings that don't accommodate flight very well. So they're easy targets for predators, and it's very important for them to have a place to duck and cover. Sorry, I just gotta do it. Now, we have quite an extensive system of trails here. You might have noticed as we were driving through. We like to get the dogs out on at least 1, sometimes 2 walks a day if we can manage, and the volunteers certainly help out with that. Now we have one volunteer named Ed, and my goodness, this guy is such a sweetheart. He decided he's going to give all of his volunteer time to working on the trails, and specifically to taking all the little spines and pucker burrs out of the sand. There's this plant that puts off these big spines that gets stuck in the dog's paws. And he said, you know, everybody comes here and wants to pet the dogs and walk them. I'm going to do something different, and I want them to have nice, comfortable walks. So you'll see his truck parked on the side of the road, and he's off there and on his knees picking all the little spines out of the sand. What a sweet man. Yeah. And there's a lot of wildlife here in addition to our resident animals. You know, we've got lots of turkeys and quails, cottontails and jackrabbits, lots of deer, hawks and owls, and occasionally a bobcat or coyote will walk through. But if you ever do see one deer or one turkey, keep your eyes peeled because they don't really travel that way. And it's a pretty tricky situation if you think the parade is over and here comes one more deer. So we're going back onto the county road. It's a public road. You can drive it anytime you want. We do ask you not to go into the animal areas if you're not on a tour or volunteering, but I'll show you a few spots on the way that you can certainly explore on your own. And I want you folks to know we're on one of the plateaus of the Grand Staircase Escalante. Right now we're on the Vermilion Cliffs that are about 5,500 feet. When I come out of these trees here, look off to the left and you'll see the next step. It's the White Cliffs. They go up to 6,500 feet. And beyond them are the Cliffs of Bryce that go to 8,000 or 9,000 feet. Quite a spectacular landscape here in southern Utah for sure. I'm not sure what these folks are doing. I guess he decided he didn't want to go down that dirt road.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And we get lots of four-wheelers. Certainly four-wheeling country. All right, so we're coming up on our new pet cemetery. This one's called Angels Overlook. We started to run out of a little bit of space at our original cemetery, so we dedicated this one to sanctuary animals and staff pets. We kept it much more natural looking up here than the second one I'll show you in a few minutes because of all that wildlife here in the Upper Canyon. We didn't want to interfere with their habitat too much. But there are a couple of walking trails and a labyrinth, a beautiful stone spiral that was made by one of our founders named Cyrus Mejia. So that's a great place to sit and take in the views, do a little prayer or meditation, and you can stop there anytime you want. And I'm not sure if you folks have heard, but our little town of Kanab has a nickname. Some people call it Little Hollywood. There's been over 100 movies and TV shows filmed in the area, mostly westerns, of course. And some of those movies have been filmed right here in Angel Canyon. Let's see, there was McKenna's Gold, The Outlaw Josie Wales with Clint Eastwood, and the Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again. Now, I've heard that one's really funny. I've got to see it soon. But it's a fun game to watch those movies and try and match them up with the landscape and go, oh my goodness, that scene was over here and that happened over there. And I'm going to show you one of those spots in just a moment. Some people call it the Beehive Rocks, and you'll see why. They kind of look like swirly bees' nests or honeycombs. And the other name is Ambush Pass, because this is the place in the movie where the wagon train gets robbed by the bandits, or where someone yells, let's head them off at the pass, and then jumps off this cliff up here. So right in front of us, this is Ambush Pass. And you'll see it's a pretty spectacular rock formation. And we do have a little pasture next to it called the Beehive Pasture. There's no horses in it right now. We generally use it for overflow or sometimes for weight loss because the water feature is down the hill. So it gets those horses moving up and down, really helps them get active. We get horses here for a lot of reasons. It's pretty expensive taking care of a horse in the first place. So sometimes people will have a death in the family or a financial loss, which forces them, sadly, to give up their horse. Sometimes we get horses with really incredible injuries, and it's a little too much for a private individual to take care of. And sometimes we get some older horses, and they may never be able to be ridden again, but we'll call them pasture pals. And we really encourage people that only have one horse to take home a pasture pal, keep the other horse company. They don't really want to live all by themselves. So we're coming up on the original pet cemetery. It's called Angel's Rest. It was started in 1992, and we now have about 6,000 animals placed here. Now over to the right, you might see a white post, and if you keep your eyes looking through the trees, you'll see a big white lion statue at the base of it. And that's a memorial to the cats of Pahrump, that huge hoarding situation we had. Sadly, we were a little too late to save some of them, so we wanted to honor them here. Now, you can see there's a lot of wind chimes. There are 1,400 wind chimes here, and those are memorials from individuals to their pets. If you were to get up close, you'd see beautiful inscriptions and sometimes pictures of the animal on the clacker in the middle. And when the wind blows here, it's just magical. You can stop and visit anytime you want. There's a parking lot on the left, and you'll see there's lots of benches and gazebos. It's a great place to sit and take a break and soak up all the love. I mean, when you walk through there and see the things written about the pets, all the statues and the gemstones that people leave when they come to visit their pet, you notice pretty quickly there's a lot of love in this spot. And this beautiful gate was made by Cyrus, the same founder that did the labyrinth at the other pet cemetery. So as I said, we're starting to run out of a little room here at Angel's Rest, so we've decided to designate it for visitors' animals. Some visitors come here and they decide they'd like to place their pet with us, so that is a possibility. And this spot in the middle, you may notice, is kind of egg-shaped. That's intentional because we call it Angel's Nest. This is where all the little birdies go when they cross the Rainbow Bridge. And the other day I saw a turkey strutting through there. We were kind of joking, maybe he's coming to visit his grandpa. You never know. It was kind of cute. And this is Kurt, one of our Angel's Rest people. Takes a special heart to do this work. A really great guy. And over there to the right, that standing stone is a memorial to the animals that lost their lives during Hurricane Katrina. We wanted to honor them here as well. And we do have a blessing once a month for all the animals who have recently passed away. Now, on the other side of the canyon, you'll see a dirt road winding up the ridge, and that's access to Hidden Lake. There's actually a lake inside of a cave out there, and some Anasazi ruins. So it's a really neat place to visit, and it's only 1.5 miles round trip, not too bad. Now, I know that first hill looks a bit steep, but it flattens out. Most of the hike really is very flat. Certainly, that hill is a lot easier on the way back out. Now, if you do decide to do that hike, we ask you to park on this side of the creek, because if you take your car across the bridge and try and go up that hill, you can easily get stuck in the deep sand out there. I'm pretty sure AAA is not going to help you over there, so it's a lot more fun to park on this side and walk in. We do have maps for that hike if anyone's interested. And as I come up around this corner, look to the top of the cliff wall, and you'll see our cafeteria. And then you'll get an idea how spectacular that view is. It is quite a place to have your lunch. And it's right up there.
Yeah. How's that open 7 days a week?
7 days a week,
Wow.
11:30 to 1. And I'm sad. They moved one of our favorite sanctuary buddies down to headquarters. He got a little sore on his heel, so they needed him closer by so they could watch that. His name is Speedy. He's our only donkey right now, and he's called a Goliath donkey. If you see him by headquarters, you'll notice he is just huge. His head is massive. He's very strong. He's got these really long ears. And his best friend Chuck is always right next to him. It's fun to watch them roughhousing in the morning. Now, I do want to introduce you to a horse up here because some people get really concerned when they see Cowboy. His back is incredibly swayed, but that's not from abuse or being overridden. It's a genetic condition called lordosis. It impacts how his spine and his organs hang in his body, and it makes this dramatically swayed back. But he's in no pain. He's very, very strong. So if he gets adopted, Cowboy won't be ever be able to be ridden again. But he could be worked a little bit. They could hook him up to a cart because he's very strong. So we don't feel bad for Cowboy. He's doing just fine. And those masks on the horses is to keep the flies out of their eyes. It's a very fine mesh. They can see just fine. Across the way, you'll see a natural alcove in the rock, and that's where the Anasazi ruins are. The one out there is a set of foundations from an old granary where they would have kept their seeds and stuff. It's pretty cool to see. And there's another one like that on this side of the road, but you won't see it through the trees. It's an amazing natural amphitheater. It's got great acoustics. So there's a big grassy area. It's fun to have a picnic up there. And we have a sound stage for special events. We call it Angel's Landing. You're not able to go there today because there will be a wedding this evening.
Wow.
So that's pretty exciting. But I tell people there are no secrets at Angel's Landing. The acoustics are so good. If you're talking up there, we'll hear you down here. Watch what you say at Angel's Landing. But if you do come back another time, that's where you park to go up the ramp. Now this barn here is called the Disney Barn. It was actually built by Walt Disney Productions. Back in 1973, they filmed a movie here called One Little Indian, starring James Garner and the late Jodie Foster and the late James Garner. Ooh, I almost switched them there.
Yeah.
Whoop. And the barn was in really great condition when we bought the property. So we put a new roof on there, and now the horses are really lucky to have a place to get out of the weather. It's a cute little barn. And I don't know if you folks noticed, but down in the canyon, we do have a creek down there, and it runs year-round. We're really lucky to have that source of water here. And one great way to find water in these type of arid environments is those trees down there. They're called cottonwoods. They drink hundreds of gallons of water a day. So if you see a cottonwood, you know there's water. And something else really beautiful we have here is lots of what we call the weeping rocks. You see them up ahead, and there'll be a really pretty one off to the right. Now that happens as the water comes trickling through the soil. Once it hits the dense rock, it's forced out of the cliff and runs down, making those beautiful stains.